is Bloomberg Markets. I'm Scarlett Fu.
And I'm Angie Lau.
Consumers are changing the way they buy. It is called commerce-enabled content, and it's when e-commerce meets mobile content. If you see a product on a blog, how do you go about buying it? How do companies engage and attract customers through the web? Jonathan Ebinger, general partners at Blue Run Ventures, joins Bloomberg's Corey Johnson now on radio. Corey?
Oh, and I want to thank our audience from Bloomberg Television for joining us. Thank you very much to Jonathan Ebinger here, of course, from Blue Run Ventures. This notion of customer-enabled content has got some, it's a big idea, but there's some big dollars behind it right now, too. Talk about this.
There are. There really is a big difference now between what people were paying for in the past with going to an Amazon.com and buying what they wanted. Not really a shopping experience. What we're seeing now more is people want to have a story. They want to learn more about the brands, more about the history of the products, where the materials come from. And then after the stories, then they buy.
And the big example of this right now is this Dollar Shave Club story.
Dollar Shave Club is really interesting. You can't think of a category with less excitement than buying a razor, but yeah, there's a story around that, and people want to know more about it. They want to buy it. They want to be engaged with the brand. If you think back to someone, do you remember Jay Peterman on the Seinfeld show? He had that catalog. People wanted to see a story about where these products came from.
If we were still just on radio, I'd do the imitation, but on TV, it's not going to play because it'll ruin it. But yeah, see, it's an amazing voice, but every piece of product had a story to it.
Exactly, that's right. And you don't get that from traditional .com sites. The brands are really trying to find a way to connect with their customers. Now, Amazon had a great quarter last quarter, but they still have just a very small fraction of e-commerce sales. So there's an opportunity not necessarily for retailers, but for the brands to connect directly with their customers.
And Dollar Shave, I can't remember how big the offer was. It was like $1 billion takeover from Unilever, yes. Right? Which showed that they see a huge market there and a way to go after an incumbent like Gillette that seemed impenetrable.
That's right. They picked up almost 10% share in 5 years. And what they're doing, furthermore, is they're connecting with their customer. So you're seeing things like chatbots are rising in interest right now. So consumers can actually text a brand now. If I wanted to text Tommy Hilfiger, I wouldn't know how to do that. I don't know how to text Macy's. But you can text people like Dollar Shave Club and businesses that want to connect with you the way consumers want to communicate.
So in your role as a venture capitalist, looking at startup companies, because, again, we're talking about big categories, a lot of money, what kind of businesses are you going after here, and what kind of capital requirements are required?
Well, that's what's nice about the businesses we go after. We're going after SaaS businesses, which...
Software as a service.
Thank you. Software as a service, which takes some venture dollars to really get the flywheel going. So we're investing 5, 6, 7 years ahead of the ultimate liquidity events. We invested in companies
with fingers crossed, of course.
Exactly. Nothing's for sure. But with subscriptions, you spend more money up front to acquire the customer, and then you work hard every day to keep that customer excited about your brand.
And so give me an example of one of your investments that's along those lines.
Well, Coupa is a great example. It's more in the B2B space. We invested in that company almost 10 years ago. It's in the exciting world of enterprise software. But we delight the customers. Rather than paying a huge upfront fee, now they're paying a fee every single month and getting more and more quality. As the service evolves, they get the new product offerings without having to buy a new product.
And do you see this as a trend? So as a creator of content, this makes me a little bit nervous, right? Where we've got this sort of advertorial thing slipping into the world of content, and we see that we see a lot of companies trying to do this, sort of slip in stories or slip in, dynamic links on the side of a web page that will take you to something created by the advertiser, not something created by a content creator or a journalist.
That's a good point, Corey.
So I guess let me just take a little further. The idea there is that, or the risk there is that customers are going to get sick of getting tricked into clicking on stuff, and the value of these kinds of clicks and the likelihood that customers go to this stuff decreases, and therefore the value of your investment decreases as well.
There is that risk. The advertisers have definitely overplayed their hand with a lot of advertising. What we're seeing now, take, for example, folks who are what's called being YouTube famous. People have 1 million followers on YouTube, but they can't monetize. Now we're looking at companies which allow them to monetize the products that they're endorsing right in flow with the service, so there's no bait and switch, no clickbait, as it's often called in the
So the YouTube stars are showing some great cake recipe. The cake recipe is advertised there, and they know exactly what they're talking about.
Exactly, and then the person who's promoting that cake recipe gets an affiliate revenue fee, and the whole model works.
And it's also, it sounds like it's also very much a long tail, where you're going to have, you've got to have something, it sounds like, software, something that lets very small increments be sold into this, not the big Super Bowl ad and the multi-million-dollar spend on each advertisement.
That's right. There's a long tail and what they call sometimes the mid-tail, the fat middle. If someone has 700,000 followers on Instagram, that person can monetize the outfits they're wearing. If that outfit is no longer available, they can monetize other outfits that they also endorse. So it work for that's something less than a large broadcast television.
So my 1,200 Instagram followers, stick with the day job?
I think you're doing a good job here.
Stick with the day job. That's going to happen, though. Jonathan Ebinger, general partner at Blue Run Ventures.